More reports this morning suggesting that Manchester United are set to test the waters with Bayern Munich right back Leon Goretzka this summer. 4 players return from injury back in training, and also a bit of a preview of the Crystal Palace game today. These are some of the topics we will be discussing on this morning's show. But before we get into that, please do me one small favour. Smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 500 likes on this episode. And if this is your first time watching, please also subscribe to the channel. We're very, very close to 40,000. So yeah, go and subscribe if you haven't already. And I've also just noticed, or just remembered in my head, that I just called Leon Goretzka a right back. He is most certainly not a right back. He is a central midfielder, so apologies for that. My brain clearly hasn't switched on yet. But anyway, let's get straight on into the show, and let's start off with some positivity. And let's talk about the injury situation at Manchester United, because we can report this morning that 4 players are now officially back from injury, and they're actually now in first team training. So I'm going to run through all of those players with you really, really quickly. And let's start off with probably the one that has probably had the least impact on the squad since he joined, okay? But I think on a personal level, on a human level, is the one I'm most excited about, and the one that brings me a bit of a smile this morning. And that is Tyrell Malacia. Now, I know people have been... There's been so many stories going around, so many conspiracy theories. Where is he? What's happened to him? But, oh, my sneeze is coming. This happens every morning at about this time. I don't know why. I think it's gone. It's gone. Okay, fine. False alarm. No sneeze. Right. Back to Malacia. Obviously, yeah, he hasn't played a professional game in over 18 months, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. The last time he played football was in May last year. Yeah, I mean, he's one of those where, so is it 18 months? No, 16 months. Still, it's a very, very long time. You know, even when people do that ACL or do like leg break, something like that, they're still back sooner than this. And, you know, there's loads of people saying that he had bad surgery. We don't know. And we might never find out the truth of exactly what's happened to Malacia. But it has been confirmed this morning. There's pictures, there's videos that Malacia officially returned to first team training yesterday. Training with the first team. Amazing. And you know what? There was a really nice video that I saw on social media where the first team players were welcoming him back. It must be so difficult for a professional athlete who's played football all their life to not play for 16 months. I mean, that's crazy. Just think about it. You know, the thing that you love, the thing that gets you up in the morning, and you've not been able to do it. So that's the first player. Welcome back, Tyrell Malacia. Hopefully we see you on the pitch very, very soon. And obviously with Luke Shaw still being injured, you know, he probably does have a bit of an opportunity here to break into the team. Now, will we see him play soon? I don't know. I mean, if I was Erik ten Hag, if he's, you know, training with the team and all the rest of it, I would give him a couple of minutes against FC Twente in the Europa League. I think it's on Wednesday or Thursday this week. Obviously, it's at home. You know, the Old Trafford crowd will welcome him back, definitely. That's what I would do, even if it's like 5 minutes just at the end of the game, you know, just to kind of slowly bring him back in, because he's been out for so long. Obviously, you can't be starting games yet. It's going to take a while. But he is in first team training. I've literally got the video up on my screen right now. He's back on the grass, playing with the rest of the players. And it's so good to see, especially, as I said, on just like a human level, on a personal level. For someone to be out for so long and then to be back is obviously nice to see. So that's the first one. And then the second player who has returned to injury as well, this is also in that same video, is Victor Lindelof. So Victor Lindelof is also back in training now, which is amazing. If you look at our centre-back situation now, right, the only player who is missing is Leny Yoro. So we've got De Ligt, we've got Martinez, we've got Victor Lindelof. I'm trying to remember all the centre-backs we've got. We've got loads now. So we've got Martinez and De Ligt. Those are the first choice. Then you've got Maguire and Johnny Evans. So that's 4. Then you've got Victor Lindelof. So we've got 5 centre-backs now. And obviously, Leny Yoro will come back at some point. But we have 5 fit centre-backs. So yeah, Victor Lindelof back as well. Great. Obviously, he's not going to play today, but he will be available, I reckon, probably in the next couple of weeks. Maybe we'll see him in the Europa League. It's just great to have a bit of depth again, because, you know, if you look at the team that lost this time last season to Crystal Palace, right? And people were like, oh, Erik ten Hag should be sacked, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm going to get the team up for you now. You know, from when we lost 4-0 to Crystal Palace last season. And I know it's not an excuse, but you look at the side that we put out on that day. And I know Erik ten Hag said that before. It should be a different game today. And there's not really any excuses, because when you look at the team we played in that... So this time last year, right? This was our team against Crystal Palace. We had Onana in goal. We had a centre-back partnership of Johnny Evans and Casemiro. Yes, you heard that right. Casemiro and Johnny Evans as the first choice centre-backs for Manchester United. You had Wan-Bissaka at left-back, who is a left-back, is a right-back. You had a midfield of Christian Eriksen and Mason Mount. Christian Eriksen, Mason Mount and Kobe Mainoo. So there was no Bruno. And then you had Anthony, because Ahmad was injured. Rashford, I think, was completely out of form. And then you had Garnacho and Højlund. Whereas if you look at the team that we'll probably have today, it will probably be Onana, Dalot, Martinez, De Ligt, Mazraoui, Mainoo, Ugarte, Garnacho, and Ahmad, Bruno. It's going to be a completely different side, is the point I'm making here. So, I'm just really, really happy that players are now starting to come back. So those are the first two. We've got Malacia and we've got Luke Shaw. Malacia and Lindelof, both back in training now. And then the next two is Mason Mount and Rasmus Højlund. And apparently both of those players are going to be part of the matchday squad for the game against Crystal Palace today. Mason Mount and Rasmus Højlund. They're not expected to start, but they're expected to get some minutes off the bench. So that's really, really good. I'm just happy that we're getting players back, because the season started and it was like, oh no, not this again. Injury, wasn't it? It was just looking really bleak really quickly. And then obviously you get a couple of bad results, and then next thing you know, people are like, sack the manager. And it just goes from like cloud nine. In the summer, everyone was really happy, great transfer window, really good business. One bad result and a couple of injuries, and everyone's like literally throwing the manager under the bus. And it's sad to see, but I get it. Like, football is an escapism for a lot of people. Football is a way of, at the end of a week, to relax. And if your team loses, I get it. It is difficult, so I completely understand. But I think my assessment on Ten Hag and on Manchester United as a whole is, you can only really judge them once he has his full strength side, which he is now starting to get. And we've seen in the last couple of games, obviously beating Southampton 3-0, beating Barnsley 7-0, that we are starting to build patterns of play, and we are starting to... We're just looking like a little bit better than we were last season. Now, you can only compare to your next game, right? We have to go and beat Crystal Palace today. My expectations have changed in the last couple of weeks. I've seen patterns of play. I've seen promise. I've seen some good football against Barnsley, against Southampton. And I've seen some bad football from Crystal Palace. You've only got... I think they've only got... Where are Crystal Palace in the table? They're quite low down. Let me check. Crystal Palace are currently 16th. They've got 2 points. They've lost 2 and drawn 2. They've conceded 7 goals. And you look at the Crystal Palace side that will most likely start the game against Manchester United today, right? Based on the team that they put out last time. It's a very, very different side to what they had last year. Obviously, they've got rid of Michael Olise, who was one of their better players. And they've got rid of Joachim Andersen, their centre-back, who's a very good player as well. And, you look through their team and it's people like Dean Henderson, Nathaniel Klein, Mitchell, Decore, Munoz, Gahey, who's obviously a good player, Eze, who's a good player. But the point I'm making here is, like, they are weaker in my opinion. And yeah, we have to go and beat them. We have to get revenge. And I hope that Erik ten Hag is really pushing that on those players today, to Manchester United's team, that we need to go and get revenge today for what they did to us last season. But as I said, are you really surprised losing 4-0 to Crystal Palace when you've got Johnny Evans and Casemiro as your centre-back partnership, So at that time, I think that was a valid excuse. But the point I'm making here now is, we don't have a valid excuse today. If we go and lose 4-0 to Crystal Palace with our best side, there's no valid excuse. That's the point I'm making. Because I think with our best side out there, we can beat any team on any day. That doesn't mean we're going to win the league. It doesn't mean we're going to win, the Europa or the Champions League or anything. But it just means in a standalone game, I believe Man United's best side, when you've got the Brunos, you've got the De Ligt, the Martinez, Luke Shaw, whatever, Dalot, I think you can beat any side. We did that to Man City last year. And I think, the team that we'll be putting out today will pretty much be full strength, realistically. I'm just going to double check if Crystal Palace have got any injuries. And whilst I'm doing that, I want you to all get involved in the comment section and let me know, what are your score predictions for the game against Crystal Palace today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Go and get in there right now and let me know. I'm just going to have a look at injuries. Let's have a look for Crystal Palace. I'm just seeing if Crystal Palace have got any injuries. Okay, let's have a look. Crystal Palace injuries and suspensions. Okay, so it looks like Decore's out, who I guess is one of the better players. He's a starting player anyway. I think as far as I can see, it's just Decore who's out for this game. Let me have a double check. And a couple of other players as well. Chalobah, Holding. Yeah, Decore's out. Yeah, so they're missing a few players. I mean, Decore's the only one who would probably start. I don't think Chalobah would start. I don't know who's going to play instead of Chalobah. Sorry, instead of Decore. He is like obviously one of their more senior midfielders, isn't he? Is that the same Decore that was at... No, I'm thinking of Decore that was at Everton. But anyway, he's injured, so he's not going to play. But yeah, get your score predictions in the comment section now. I'm going to go with... I'm going to go 3-1 Manchester United. 3-1. That's my prediction. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section right now. What is your score predictions for the game? Lumen says, Kieran, when was the last time Ten Hag's lineup matched with what the fans want? I'm going to be completely honest with you, right? And I'm not going to beat around the bush. I don't really care what the fans want. You're not the manager of Manchester United. Like, why does it matter whether Erik Ten Hag picks the same lineup as what you want? This literally baffles me. Like, I don't want to go off on one here, but you see people who are like, oh, Erik Ten Hag out because he's not picked Garnacho. And it's just like, what? Answer me these questions, and then you can tell me whether you think you have the right to pick the lineup. Are you on the training pitch, watching their training sessions? No. Do you get a fitness report from your medical department before each game telling you the availability of your players? No. Do you speak to those individual players to assess how they're feeling, what their mood is, what their mentality is in that moment, how their momentum's feeling? No. Are you a professional football manager who's been involved in the game since they were a child, managing, top clubs across Europe? No. Like, I just don't understand it. I get that you want to have your say and you want to be like, you want your team to be picked and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, Erik Ten Hag is the manager and you have to trust him. You have to back him. He has all of the information in front of him to make that decision on who should play in each match week, right? Us just sat there saying, oh, Garnacho should play because he scored 2 goals against Barnsley. Like, we don't know. Maybe Garnacho's tired. Maybe he's had a bit of a knock in the week. Maybe Erik Ten Hag spoke to Garnacho and they've agreed that he's better as an impact sub at the moment. Like, we don't know, do we? And I think a lot of people point the finger at the manager when the manager does something that doesn't align with what their belief system is. And I don't know, it just really, really confuses me. And I don't understand it. Like, whatever team Erik Ten Hag puts out today, I will back, Obviously, if it's like all under 21s, you'd be like, what the hell is going on? But you can kind of predict what the lineup will be. It's going to be Rashford, of course it is. And that's probably the player you're talking about, that you're like, oh, why is Rashford going to play? It usually is Rashford. Rashford's usually the one that seems to rub people up the wrong way. But it's probably going to be a very similar side to that was the same team that played towards the end of the game against Barnsley. It will be Onana in goal. It will be Dalot at left back, Mazraoui at right back. It's going to be De Ligt and Martinez. I reckon it'll probably be... I have a funny feeling, right, that it might be Ugarte and Casemiro today, maybe. I have a feeling. Because I think they work quite well together. And that's not me throwing any shade on Kobbie Mainoo. I love Kobbie Mainoo. But I think against the Crystal Palace side, away from home, in a difficult match, you want to have a bit of solidity in that midfield. And I think Casemiro and Ugarte together is a lot more defensive and probably a lot more of a safe option. Because for me, Mainoo is much better further up the pitch. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does that. It will either be Ugarte and Mainoo or Casemiro and Mainoo. And then in the front line, I think it will probably be Rashford on the left. I think it will probably be Garnacho on the left, Rashford as the striker, Ahmad is on the right wing, and Bruno as the central attacking midfielder. That's what I would predict. But if I'm wrong and they pick someone else, then that's fine, Like, it doesn't matter, And It obviously is. It obviously is Rashford that you're talking about as well. The same person who made that comment said, "Kieran, would you want Rashford to start?" Like, would I want Rashford to start? I mean, yeah, I would start Rashford 100%. Of course I would. Rashford's in form. Rashford's got that fire back in his belly. Why would you now drop him? That wouldn't make any logical sense to drop Rashford now, in my opinion. Other than if you have like an agenda against him, you know? Like, we could have had this conversation at the beginning of the season saying that Rashford should be on the bench. Like, that would have maybe been believable. But Rashford's scored against Southampton. He scored 2 against Barnsley. I think he got a couple of assists. Like, yeah. But yeah, just get behind the team, back the players, back the manager. We've just won 7-0 and 3-0. Yes, it's against lesser sides, but you still can only win what's in front of you, So, yeah. Right, let's move on to this Leon Goretzka story then, shall we, quickly? So I can see a lot of people who are wondering what's going on with this. So this is coming out from Sport Build via, what's the guy's name? My brain's gone. Christian Falk, who's a very reliable journalist. So this is why I've brought this into the show, because I thought, there's a lot of rubbish about Manchester United that gets put out a lot of the time. But when someone like Christian Falk puts out a story, I usually listen. So it says German journalist Christian Falk has talked about the possibility of Leon Goretzka joining Manchester United in January. He says that Manchester United were previously interested in signing Leon Goretzka and have seen that they can now make good deals with Bayern Munich, having previously landed De Ligt and Mazraoui, blah, 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 blah. And apparently Leon Goretzka wants to leave Bayern Munich, or apparently he's trying to get like a new contract, but it's not been agreed, blah, blah, blah. It's the classic situation. So, if he was to leave Bayern Munich, apparently Manchester United are the club that are like, like heavily linked to him. Would I want Leon Goretzka at Manchester United? If this was like 3 or 4 years ago, I would say yes in a heartbeat. But now, I don't think so. Personally. Yeah, it would probably be a no from me for Leon Goretzka. Obviously, he's a good player, but I think he's maybe a little bit... I don't know if I'd say he's past it, but he's getting towards the end of his career, probably. He's 30 years of age. He's on absolutely ridiculous money. He's on nearly £300,000 a week, which I don't think is what he's worth. And when you add all of those bits together, £300,000 a week contract, 30 years of age, it just sounds like Casemiro all over again. We bought Casemiro at the age of 30 and we gave him 350k a week. Like, it just sounds like a like-for-like deal with what we did with Real Madrid. It's buying a player off them, probably for, 50, 60, 70 million pounds, giving him crazy wages when he's coming towards the end of his career. Like, it doesn't really make much sense to me, especially if the player who's leaving is Casemiro. It's like you get rid of Casemiro, and then what you bring in, you then bring in Goretzka. Like, it doesn't make too much sense. So yeah, for me personally, I wouldn't go near Goretzka, but I can understand why we're linked to him. Obviously, he is a good player, very experienced, but when you factor in all of the amount that the deal would cost, it just doesn't excite me, to be honest. I would rather give Toby Collier some game time. I would rather go and bring in some young CDM, in their early 20s, the same age of like Manuel Ugarte, like someone around that kind of age, because yeah, it just isn't good value for money. But I'd be interested to see. Let's do a little poll quickly before we end the show. So we'll do this. We'll say, should United sign Goretzka? I'm just going to blow my nose quickly. One sec. Yeah, so you can get involved in the poll. Let me know. Should Leon Goretzka, should Manchester United sign Leon Goretzka? Ant says that Goretzka is a prime Ed Woodward style deal. Yeah, exactly. It is. It's like a Glazer type deal, isn't it? It's like a Casemiro. It's a big name player on big wages towards the end of their career, So yeah, for me, it's a no, but I'll be interested to see what everyone else has to say. It seems like most people in the chat don't want Leon Goretzka, which is fine. Oh, let's see what else we've got here. See if we've got any other chats. Somebody's saying, what if we got him on loan? They're not going to loan him, I don't think, mate. It would have to be a permanent transfer, and Bayern are going to want 50 million plus for him, realistically, which I don't think he's worth at the age of 30. You know, he's got no resale value. You'd bring him in for 4 years on ridiculous wages, and at the end of those 4 years, he'd probably leave for free. You know, it's terrible business, and I don't think he's enough to say give him 350k a week or whatever it is he wants, pay them 50 million, and then at the end of the 4 years, we'll probably be sat there scratching our heads saying we're still in the same position we were before, and we've spent 350k a week for the last 4 years. So yeah, for me, it's a no, but I'd be interested to see what you all have to say. Right, I'm going to wrap the video up here. I will be back live, obviously, after the game tonight. Hopefully I'm back with a positive match reaction. I'm feeling good about it. I think we will win today. So yeah, I'll be back at, what time's the game? 5:30. I'll be back about 7ish. That'll probably be when the game's over. But yeah, as soon as the game finishes, I will go live. Thank you very much for watching this morning. Before you leave, please do me a small favour. Make sure to like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a lovely day, everybody, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye for now.